Now, I've said this before, we're making the same challenges because they're raising the same issues. Territorial jurisdiction is exactly the same in a traffic ticket as it is in a marijuana charge.
Right.
So it's the same charge. So if they don't have evidence in a traffic ticket, they don't have evidence in a more serious one.
Imran,
like
you know, when Imran came to St. Louis and him, Gary Capps, and I ate some Thai food, it was great. He brought this about. He's like, you know, I like what Marc says, but he sticks to, you know, and this is over while we're eating, not when we called in. We had this discussion. He goes, you know, I just wish he, you know, talked about tax cases more, criminal, you know, heavy felony criminal charges more, and dealt with those types of cases, and you know, spent more of his time talking about that. And I said, well, Imran, you know, the thing is you got to realize is, it would be the same conversation. It doesn't necessarily matter exactly what the charges are. It's really the same questions are being put forth. So just forget you're dealing with the traffic charge. Just fill in the blank with drug or, you know, or whatever. You know, as long as they don't have, they can't prove their jurisdiction. It's really all the same. It's the same challenge.
It's a code violation,
right? And they're asserting that their laws apply to you, and all you're doing is challenging that.
Yeah, we do talk about felonies. It's just that we don't have that many.
Right.
That come through,
and the conversation sounds very similar. Really similar.
It's exactly
the same.
The only real difference is the amount of stress that you're going to be under is going to be greater because the punishment is going to be far more severe.
Yeah, and that plays out differently too, and that's something to you know, that's something in of itself to talk about harder cases is the stress, you know, how to overcome that. Because it is easy when you just have a parking ticket to just, you know, flap your cute little mouth sideways all over the courtroom one end to the other and get away with it. You know, when you're in there for felony possession, you don't have the latitude that you're offered with a parking ticket and inside you're not offered it from the court, but you also don't feel it either. It's heavy, and that's something maybe that we could talk about, but that also comes with role playing. The
role playing is critical.
Takes care of that.
You really need to do the role playing. You can know the objections,
right, yeah.
you know, like no one's business. But if you're not actually engaging other people doing that, you freeze. And so
no one got in the ring with Ali who didn't do any, you know, little jabbing beforehand. You know, no one who got in the ring in a professional ring, Muhammad Ali, didn't have a little bit of practice, you know, didn't do a little bit of role playing on the old punching bag in the gym before they got in that ring, you know, and the same thing.
You got same thing. You got to score. And people who've gone into court that have gone to court without the role playing and then have subsequently gone with the role playing will all say the same thing. The role playing helps immensely, and you need, whether you do it with us, and we've all been through it. Everyone on that, there's going to be some newbies, but the people helping have all been through it before. We've all been through it, even Tom.
And even if it's all newbies, what it's helping you with is desensitizing you to, you know, these aggressive guys in court. You know, look, you're under the gun amongst friends, and it can get a little rough. You know, having to come up with answers on the spot and have this, and you're going to want to be grilled by friends, and you then take that to court and deal with it there. And you know, so the role playing is just essential, just because it desensitizes you to the shock of you know, being under the gun there, because. The one thing that they are masters of is intimidation tactics. They are absolute masters of that.
Yep.
And they'll put the pressure on, and they'll find your pressure points. How many? I mean, you've seen a myriad of them. You know, they've come after people.
I've seen everyone practically.
Right, and they'll get you where it hurts when they want to get you. You know, they don't. You know, it's not unlike traffic tickets. When it comes to felony charges, they don't litigate to lose. You know, they'll find your pressure points and they'll get them. So. You know, you can't walk in there and not be a little desensitized or little, you know, you gotta have had to take, if anything, you gotta get some licks from us. Maybe you're the perfect litigator, right? You got it natural. You're a natural little Jerry Spence. Not before you get a couple punches from the community here.
You gotta do this bar.
You gotta get roughed up.
Yes,
you know?
And before we run out of time, so the other thing is, it's too much, you know, one, I want to say about it, before I say it's about too much trouble for them, when they turn around and say it had nothing to do with the motion to dismiss, that is called pure speculation. You have no idea.
Right, and unless you know otherwise.
Unless you know the judge.
Connected.
Unless you know that judge, and he told you, you are speculating.
Right.
So you have to go by the evidence, which they don't want to do. The other part about being it's too much trouble, if it really was a legitimate, as far as all these tickets that have been thrown out, even IRS stuff, after all these years, hundreds, if it over 3 continents, if it really was just a matter of it's complete garbage, but it's too much trouble, then you could go in literally with gibberish,
right,
and have just as high a percentage rate. We know that the sovereign citizens don't. We know the freemen on the land cause a lot of trouble and make it.
They have the websites. They don't have a success story.
But they don't have success stories. They can't show when one of their motions was granted. So,
and that's what it is. Look, we're bragging slightly in the title of calling it success stories, but the reason why is just to show that to disclose this is how it's working. It's a proof of concept. It's not so we could just gloat. I mean, it does feel good to be onto something. But it's merely a proof of concept. So don't.
Well, it's because people who come to the website are generally being attacked, and they want help defending themselves,
and they want to see what's worked.
And they can scroll through dozens of pages.
They can follow many of the different people that have called in the show. Right. Much of their paperwork's on there.
It's on, and so they can see for themselves that ordinary people without a Juris Doctorate, without having to spend half their life, have been able to follow the basic principles, use the Socratic method, don't take an affirmative position other than they have no evidence, and always demand and don't tolerate non-responsive answers.
That's exactly what Joe did.
And that's what he did. He didn't accept a sacred cow. And that's what it boils down to. They'll always agree, and here's the three again. I'll say it again. Zealously attack your accuser's arguments and claims. Don't give him any special treatment. Don't give him a pass on any of them, and prioritize. Go for the claims that are more important and collapse the whole case. That happens to be jurisdiction, which is a threshold issue. Their claims are all based on you're physically in Arizona, or Joe, you're physically in Hawaii, our laws apply, we have jurisdiction, okay? So you don't give them a free pass on that, no sacred cows, and we've proven time and time again, and by the time we post this, there'll probably be more. But we call it a success story so that people can see that and make an intelligent decision. Should I mortgage my home or take out a loan to pay a blood-sucking lawyer who's just going to make a deal anyway, where if you do it yourself, you can go through the discovery, or you can go through, do a prelim, and you can show that they have no evidence, and at least get a better deal on your own without having to shell out $5, $10, $15, or $20,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very rare exception that you're victimized further for questioning the evidence. Sometimes they like to go after you with contempt if they if they get away with it.
Like our friend Terry in Michigan, it does happen very few times, but it does happen.
But the majority of the time, if you went there and you leverage your pressure points against them, you will work. You'll best case scenario dismiss a case. Sometimes a year later. Sometimes you work out a better deal.
Sometimes, and we've had that. We've had
that's the whole thing behind effective damage control. You spend a couple years on the circuit, really kind of putting that message out there what effective damage control actually meant. It's a loaded term. There's a lot to understand behind it, but it's accurately in the title. Yeah, it's effective damage control.
It's effective damage control. And Joe was offered no jail time. From something, I forget how many, a year to 10, they kept on going.
Right, so they were working with them, and he didn't...
They knew. The reason why they were offering such a deal is they didn't want to deal with him anymore. Why was he too much trouble? Because they don't have any evidence.
That's right. And when you don't have an evidence, you got to fold. Yeah. You got to fold. It's a bluff.
You got to fold. Well, we're out of time for this segment. Hopefully it's under 15 minutes. If not, I may have to cut a little bit. But
we'll do what we got to do.
Adam is going to do his talk. I'm going to speak next. We'll have that also as part of the show, and then we'll talk with Adam. Right on. All right, appreciate. All right, we'll be back here on the No Stay Project. We're live at Baca's Meadow in Arizona.